Now I would request Professor Grover, Professor Dilip Kumar, Professor Anil Sharma, Dean Faculty of Sciences, and Dr. Pallavi Goswami, Dean Sciences, Faculty of Literature, to kindly water the sapling as a mark of continued growth and prosperity. I would now request Dr. Suchinda Sharma, Head of School, Amity School of Physical Sciences, to formally introduce our speaker, Professor Arun Grover.
Good afternoon, everyone. So, in Sanskrit, we say karmanne vadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachan. That means continue doing your work without thinking of the fruits that you are getting. And scientists are something who are known for the same thing. And we are happy and privileged to have Professor Grover with us, who is a distinguished academician, scientist, and administrator, best known for his significant contribution to both the academic and research landscape in India, particularly in the field of physics. He served as the Vice Chancellor of Punjab University, Chandigarh from 2012 to 2018 and has been an influential figure in shaping the institute's growth during this tenure. Professor Grover earned his MSc in physics from University of Delhi, followed by PhD in theoretical physics, which laid the foundation for his expertise in the area of condensed matter physics, focusing on magnetism and low-dimensional systems. His research work has earned him recognition both in India and internationally, with numerous publications in prestigious scientific journals. He was appointed as a professor at Punjab University in the Department of Physics, where he also held various academic and administrative roles before becoming the Vice Chancellor. His expertise in physics, particularly in condensed matter physics, has been instrumental in advancing the university's research standing in the field. As the Vice Chancellor of Punjab University, Professor Grover played a pivotal role in steering the university toward a more research-oriented and globally competitive academic environment. Under his leadership, the university made substantial strides in various areas. Professor Grover's work has been widely acknowledged, earning him various academic honors and fellowships. He is recognized member of several prestigious scientific and academic societies in India and abroad. His work has influenced both theoretical advancements in physics and practical applications in areas like nanotechnology and material science. He received the Homi Bhabha Science and Technology Award 1995 and the MRSI Medal 1996. Professor Grover chaired the Research Council of CSIR NPL between 2017 to 2023 and was a governing body member of CSIR between 2017 to 2020. He also led TIFR's Homi Bhabha Birth Centenary Commemoration Committee between 2008 to 2011 and was honored with TIFR's Alumni Excellence Award 2018. As PU's Vice Chancellor, he initiated the Chandigarh Region Innovation and Knowledge Cluster CRIC. He also chaired IIT Delhi's DRIV Cluster Review and Advisory Committee. In 2019, he became a Raja Ramanna Fellow at PEC Chandigarh, promoting interdisciplinary research and entrepreneurship. Currently, he is Vice President of SPISTI and has been re-elected until 2030, where his research includes the history of higher education and scientific research in India. Professor Arun Grover's legacy is one of academic excellence, administrative acumen, and a deep commitment to enhancing the quality of higher education in India. He remains a respected figure in both the scientific and academic communities whose efforts have left a lasting impact on his students, colleagues, and the broader educational system in India. In conclusion, Professor Arun Grover's career reflects a commitment to academic excellence, research advancements, and institutional leadership, making him a respected figure in the field of physics and higher education. Let us all welcome Professor Grover for today's talk on Homi Bhabha's life and times. Sir.
Correct. So is it already loaded? Yeah, okay. So good afternoon all. I am delighted to be back on this stage at the invitation of Vice Chancellor Professor R.K. Kohli and the President of Chandigarh chapter of National Academy of Sciences of India. So I am going to tell you the story of Homi Bhabha today under the aegis of Nasi, which is headquartered at Prayag. So this academy was created by Meghnad Saha in 1930. It's the first Science Academy of India. And he created it as a science academy for the province, United Provinces. Actually, it was provinces of Awadh and on, the present day UP. So that was the first Science Academy of India. 4 years down the line, C.V. Raman also created a Science Academy in Bangalore as a provincial Science Academy. And in the same year, 1934, in Calcutta, an organization by the name National Institute of Sciences was registered. And this NIS was supposed to synergize the activities of all the provincial science academies of India. Okay, NIS after independence transformed into Indian National Science Academy and moved from Calcutta to Delhi. And the Allahabad Academy is also today a National Science Academy by the name National Academy of Sciences of India. And the Bangalore Academy is also a National Science Academy in the name Indian Academy of Sciences. So I prepared today's talk actually in response to a call by Department of Science and Technology last year to do something as a part of activities of to be undertaken during the Amrit Kal. Amrit Kal is supposed to propel India towards a developed nation by 2047. So this talk was delivered at a Inspire camp at Behrampur in November of last year. So I repeated it under the aegis of Indian National Science Academy, INSA, at IIT Ropert 3 months ago. So I'm going to talk is more or less the same with a little flavor different. But today I'm going to do it under the aegis of National Academy of Sciences of India. And doing it for Nasi is very special because Bhabha has a special relationship with Nasi. So if you go to Nasi, headquarters in Allahabad, Prayagraj, you see 3 buses installed there. Okay, there is a bus of Bhabha. Okay. And along with it, there are buses of Meghnad Saha and C.V. Raman. So these 3 buses are there. And then there are 3 panels there for each bust. So for Bhabha, these are the three panels. Panel 1 describes life of Bhabha, and panel 2 is scientific contributions and other notable works of Bhabha. And the panel 3 is other attributes of Bhabha. Bhabha's interest in art, theatre, music, and why Bhabha was successful, his close relationships with the prime ministers of India, and there were three of them by the time he passed away. The third one was Mrs. Gandhi. She took oath as a prime minister on the day Bhabha passed away in a plane crash, but she had had contact with Homi Bhabha since the year 1936. So whatever is there in this panel, that is what I am going to elaborate for you for next 50 minutes. So Bhabha lived for just 56 years, very short life. But as Prime Minister Mrs. Gandhi said when he passed away, India would long cherish the memory of Homi Bhabha, for he was deeply involved in our destiny. Okay, this is what she said. And that is why he is relevant even today. Because, destiny of India, this is the agenda that we followed for independent India, and this is what we are going to continue up to 2047. Bhabha put India on a path of development, and we are supposed to, the current Prime Minister wants to accelerate the pace of that development during the Amrit Kal. 47, we are a developed nation. So last year, what motivated me to start putting this talk together, there is a book. There are many biographies on Bhabha have been written. I have put together a number of books on Bhabha. The latest one is a book written by a civil servant, Dadabhai Bakhtiar. It came in the year 2023. And this book is the fattest book. You can see it's a fat book. Okay. Homi Bhabha, A Life. So title is also copied from there. So it's a fat book, and it sort of collates together almost all the earlier books in a very authoritative way. Since it is written by a civil servant, so there are no biases. He himself is not a scientist. He has a training in economics, but he is a Parsi, so he had access to archives, or Parsi archives, Tata's archives of Tata's archives on Bhabha, his brother, and so on. So, and then one part of the book is just references. So it's a very authoritative account. So he had contacted me, and eventually I got this book released in Homi Bhabha Auditorium in July 29 on the GRD Tata's birthday last year. And I also wrote a review of this book. And this book, I believe, it is my reckoning that this is equivalent of G. Venkatraman's book on C.V. Raman. And that G. Venkatraman's book on C.V. Raman was commissioned on the 50th year of Indian Academy of Sciences, which Raman had created. So Venkatraman, who was inducted by Homi Bhabha at TIFR, the institute where I worked for 40 years. So Venkatraman was inducted for the India's Atomic Energy Program, and Venkatraman was commissioned to write this book. So he wrote this wonderful book on biography of C.V. Raman, which is called Journey into Light, which is like Bakhtiar's book on Homi Bhabha. So this book came up in 1988, and Venkatraman also wrote 6 years down the line a book on Homi Bhabha, which for the young people of India to inspire them from the life of Homi Bhabha. And that book is titled Bhabha and His Magnificent Obsessions. So this book was released in 1994. I was present at the release function in the Homi Bhabha Auditorium. And after that, this book has been reprinted many times. During the birth centenary year of Bhabha, I got it reprinted 3 times because you got 5,000 copies printed, everything got sold, another 5,000, another 5,000. So it's a magnificent book. I have a soft copy of it. I will make available to Dr. Dilip, and he can circulate it to all of you later on. So Bhabha was born in 1909. So in 2009, Bhabha's birth centenary was also commemorated. And the Society for Promotion of Science and Technology in India was created by Mr. Dharamveer, the president of SPST, founder president of SPSTI in the year 2009. And I'm delighted that Dharamveer ji and Professor K.R. Dharamveer, the general secretary of SPSTI, are also with us on today's occasion, listening to this talk. They had actually, both of them had come for the Bhabha Centenary Symposium in Mumbai in the Homi Bhabha Auditorium in December of 2009. So for me, lots of interesting connects are there as the talk proceeds. So Bhabha scientific works were brought together in a collected form on Bhabha's 75th birthday in the year 1984. Okay. So this complete scientific works of Homi Bhabha were brought in the year 1984 by TIFR. So in the birth centenary year, I got them reprinted. And I also picked up all the speeches of Bhabha, which used to lie around in a file in TIFR library. And they were also printed together as another volume. So these two books were brought out in the birth centenary year of Homi Bhabha by TIFR and Indian Academy of Sciences, Bangalore, and they were sent to physics departments of all the universities in India. So every university, every state university of India has both these books. So during the birth centenary year, there are also a book was edited by two students of TIFR, my senior Nipan Ghosh, who was a professor at IIT Bombay, and myself. And this edited book has a biography of Bhabha. It also have 4 descriptions of his scientific contributions. One on Bhabha as an artist, one Bhabha as an institution builder, and there are tributes by 10 of his colleagues. Plus there are 5 speeches or writings of Bhabha. So I have a soft copy of this book as well, and it's there with me. But I will make the soft copy of this book also available to Dr. Dilip. It's a very revealing book. I recommend that you have a copy of it in your computers. You can enjoy whenever you have a little time reading one or the other article. So what are the 5 speeches of Bhabha, which inspired me when I was 20 years of age and when I joined as a PhD student in TIFR? One is the first letter that Bhabha wrote to Dorabji Tata Trust proposing the creation of Tata Institute of Fundamental Research. The second one is a lecture that he gave at the inauguration of TIFR on December 19, 1945 in Bombay. Third one is a speech that he gave when the foundation stone of the present TIFR building in Bombay was laid. Okay, January 1, 1954. 8 years, it took 8 years to construct that building. And like Taj Mahal, it took a while to construct it. And the building was inaugurated on January 15, 1962. And there is a speech where he gives how the TIFR grew over the previous 18 years from 1945 to 1962. Okay, then there is a last lecture of Bhabha, which is titled Science and Problems of Development. This is a speech he gave as the president of the International Council of Scientific Unions, just 10 days before he perished in a plane crash. So this actually specified what TIFR should do for the next phase of its contribution to the nation and what the atomic energy should do over the next 50 years. It's a very perceptive speech, very interesting to read, and you can go through it the way he delivered it and the way it is transcribed. So Bhabha was born in a bungalow called Kenilworth. This bungalow belonged to his aunt, his mother's sister, who lived all by herself. And he rented out 1/3 of this bungalow to start the TIFR in Bombay. This bungalow doesn't exist anymore. And instead, there is a multi-storied building, which is a residential building of officers of atomic energy and TIFR today. The bungalow is located on the Pedder Road, just before the Jaslok Hospital, not far off from the Jaslok Hospital. So during the year 2009, I got a plaque installed on the front wall, which announced that Bhabha was born there in this bungalow, and the TIFR also started from this bungalow. Next is a bungalow in which he lived with his mother. He didn't marry, so he was alone. So he lived from 45 till 1966 in the bungalow on the right. This bungalow also has been demolished now. We could not save it. Actually, it should have been preserved for posterity, but nobody came forward to pay 300 crore rupees, which the J.J. Bhabha wanted after he passed away. He had willed that proceeds from the sale of this bungalow should go towards National Center for Performing Arts, which is located in the Nariman Point. So no one came forward to pay 300 crore rupees to save this bungalow. Somebody bought it, he demolished it, and there is a multi-storied building there now. So the heritage is gone because we were not sensitive enough to this. So now Bhabha in a nutshell. So Bhabha, as I told you, was born on 30th of November 1909. He was born to Jahangir Bhabha, who was a barrister, and Mehran Ramji Bhabha, who was the granddaughter of a Parsi philanthropist, Dinsha Petit, very well-known person. And Bhabha's grandfather was Hormusji Bhabha. So he got his name from his grandfather, Hormusji. Hormusji becomes Homi Bhabha only when he goes to Cambridge. So Hormusji transforms to, his school certificate has Hormusji. So anyway, he studied in 2 schools in Bombay. His parents wanted him to become an engineer. They wanted him to send to England and wanted him, and he was supposed to come back and run the Tata Steels at Jamshedpur. Why Tata Steels? Because his father's sister was married to Dorabji Tata, the son of Jamshedji Tata. And the Tatas wanted this bright guy who was in some sense was a child prodigy. They wanted him to become an engineer, come back and run the Tata Steels. But he eventually doesn't do it. At the age 18, he's sent to Cambridge. He takes a mechanical engineering degree, and he had extracted a promise from his father that if he does well in engineering, he gets a first class, then they will let him do a degree in science as well. So he does a degree in engineering first, he gets a first class, then he does a degree in science, gets a first class in that, and then he embarks. That's why he does a engineering degree, then a degree in typos and mathematics actually. So that is how from mathematics to theoretical physics was a smoother transition. So he was inspired to do physics because he listened to a lecture by A.H. Compton, Nobel laureate A.H. Compton, when he had not received the Nobel Prize. He had visited India for a few months at the invitation of Punjab University, Lahore. And then he visited various places in India. And during that course of his visits to different places in India, he gave a talk at Royal Institute of Science, Bombay, where Homi Bhabha, as a BSc first-year student, attended his talk. This fired his imagination to do physics. So anyway, in Cambridge, he had registered at Gonville and Keys College, which was the college in which Dorabji Tata had also studied and to which he had given a huge endowment. So Bhaba's thesis guide was R.H. Fowler. R.H. Fowler is the same person with whom Dirac had done his P.M. Dirac, who went on to win the Nobel Prize for relativistic quantum mechanics. And so he's the same supervisor. And prior to Bhabha, S. Chandrasekhar, who also went on to win the Nobel Prize, was also a student of R.H. Fowler. So Bhabha had reached Cambridge in 1928. So did Chandrasekhar, but Chandrasekhar had gone there after doing a BSc, whereas Bhabha had gone there after doing a intermediate. So he could enroll for a PhD program directly. So by the time Bhabha cleared his engineering degree and the science degree, Chandrasekhar had already done his PhD in 1935 under Fowler and moved ahead. There was another Indian student in Cambridge at that time who was a very close friend of Chandrasekhar. I don't know whether Bhabha knew him or vice versa. He is Sarvadaman Chawla. Sarvadaman Chawla is supposed to be the second greatest mathematician that India has produced in the 20th century, next only to Ramanujan. And Chawla was from Lahore. His father was also a professor of mathematics at Lahore. He was Gopal Singh Chawla's son. And if you do in Google Sarvadaman Chawla, it says British-born American mathematician of Indian origin. So this is Sarvadaman Chawla, but he was also a contemporary of Bhabha at Cambridge. He is British-born because his father was Gopal Singh Chawla, was on a study leave when he was born in England. Long story, he was also a child prodigy. He had written papers in mathematics as a student at Lahore, and he had famous students like Abdul Salam and R.P. Bhamba when he was a professor of mathematics at Lahore. And Salam got Nobel Prize, and Bhamba it's the 100th year of Homi, this R.P. Bhamba this year, and there are going to be huge celebrations in the city this year commemorating 100th birth year of Bhamba in the year 2025. So fine. So I told you that Bhabha had got first class in engineering and science for both his performances. He got scholarships. One of the scholarships was a traveling fellowship that he received. The traveling fellowship during his PhD allowed him to travel wherever he wanted to in Europe. So he used that traveling fellowship to visit Wolfgang Pauli in Germany and Enrico Fermi in Italy. Both of them went on to win Nobel Prize. At that time, they had not yet got the Nobel Prize. And he also visited Hans Kramers, another very famous theoretical physicist who had his PhD with Niels Bohr and had later on worked with Heisenberg. So these are the kind of people, Bhabha interacted when he was a young person. And I am emphasizing this traveling fellowship. In Indian system, we do not have something like a traveling fellowship. And the traveling fellowships is a very innovative thing. I think under this NIRF that the government of India has set in motion last year, traveling fellowships should be created for PhD holders, PhD students in India, sufficiently large in number, which should give the bright, promising PhD scholars on the basis of some performance, some fellowship, which permits them to travel anywhere in India to interact with good professors. Now, you work with some professor, but you should have a possibility of visiting some other professors available in India so that you can broaden your horizon and grow like Bhabha. So this is the thought that I have, which cropped up yesterday only to me, and I thought I'll share it with all of you today. So fine, Bhabha had, once he neared his PhD, he got another scholarship, which is called the Newton Studentship in 1934. And this he got when he wrote the first paper His first paper, actually he wrote it in German. He didn't write it in English. And his first paper, he was communicated when he was visiting Wolfgang Pauli. So he, after his PhD, he got a senior studentship of 1851 exhibition. He was the first person of Indian origin to get that fellowship. And this was a kind of a postdoctoral fellowship for him. And he was still on this fellowship when he returns to India on a holiday in the year 1939, when the war had, few months after, he came to India in September and the war broke out very soon after. And then he couldn't go back to Europe and he stayed on in Bangalore. Once he stayed on in Bangalore, then the Dorabji Tata Trust created a position for him in C.V. Raman's physics department. So he became a reader in physics in C.V. Raman's physics department. And that is how he came in close contact with C.V. Raman. So in Bangalore only, he continued his research, and in a matter of 2 years, he was elected Fellow of the Royal Society in 1941. And then he got an international prize, J.C. Adams Prize, in the year 42. Unfortunately, his father passed away in 1942. And then he decided that he will not go back to Europe. He will stay on in India. And in the year 1942, he started to do experimental physics. So he was a theoretician. Earlier, he used to make theoretical predictions, which the experimentalist would test, or he would base his theory on the basis of experiments or observation which appear. So from 1942 onwards, he assumed this dual role. He started to do experiments along and test his own theories. So India didn't have much of the cosmic ray experimental physics at that time. But for the fact that Robert Millikan, all of you may have heard of Millikan. Millikan told us a method of determining charge to mass ratio for an electron. This is one of the first experiments that one does. At least, even if you don't do it, you are made familiar with if you are in class 12 physics. So same Millikan had come to India in 1939 and 1940 to fly cosmic ray payloads in balloons. So he was a guest of C.V. Raman, and he had done some work, but that work was unfinished. And Bhabha decided to resume where Millikan had left to carry on the cosmic ray research. So he was his own theory. He was theorist, but now he starts to do experiment as well. So that is 42. A year later, once he became Fellow of the Royal Society, he gets invitations to be a professor at several places, a professorship at Allahabad, professorship at Calcutta, and professorship created by the Dorabji Tata Trust in Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore. But he decides that no, he will return to Bombay and create an institute for fundamental research in physics. So he proposes this research institute in 1943. By that time, Harish Chandra, a MSc student from Allahabad, had been sent by K.S. Krishnan to Bangalore to work with Bhabha. So K.S. Krishnan arrived in Bangalore in 1942 to do theoretical physics with Bhabha. He does a little bit of work, few papers he writes, but later on Bhabha sends him to work with Paul Dirac in Cambridge, and there he transforms from a physicist to mathematician. So after Ramanujan, the two greatest mathematicians that India has produced in the 20th century are Sarvadaman Chawla and Harish Chandra. So now you can see, Bhabha is one. Harish Chandra was his student for a while. He had written papers with him. And Chawla he knew when he was a student at Cambridge. So this is okay. There is young Bhabha for you. This is also Bhabha, and this is the teenage Bhabha for you. This is again Homi Bhabha and his younger brother Bhabha. There is Homi Bhabha with Paul Dirac. So Bhabha considered Paul Dirac as his mentor because his initial papers are trying to apply Dirac's theory to solve contemporary problems in the frontiers of physics. So Bhabha admired Paul Dirac like his mentor. So this is Bhabha Niels Bohr in Copenhagen. Copenhagen was a place where Niels Bohr was a professor, Niels Bohr Institute at Copenhagen. Every year he used to hold a conference. So 1933 conference, Bhabha was also went there when he was a PhD student. And this conference was attended by all the greats of physics. You can see Bohr, Dirac, Heisenberg, Ernst, Heitler, Lisa Meitner, that nuclear physics lady who gave us this concept of nuclear fission. Okay, and you can see Bhabha somewhere in the right last row. And I have specifically marked Heitler because Bhabha works with Heitler later on for the famous Bhabha-Heitler theory of cosmic ray showers. Heitler had done his PhD with Sommerfeld few years earlier in Berlin, few years earlier than Bhabha's PhD at Cambridge. So next transparencies, there is a lot of material written. Don't bother about it. I have just given you, for the sake of completeness, all the papers that Homi Bhabha wrote. Okay, so this is just a list of papers. So you can download this file later on and go through it at leisure. So first list is the papers that Bhabha wrote at Cambridge. Each paper is a masterpiece. Most of the papers are single authors, even if there is once in a while there are papers he has a co-author. The first paper, as I wrote you, was in German, which got him an award. It was written when he was visiting Pauli. The second paper was on annihilation of positrons and electrons. Positron and electrons, when they collide, what you get is gamma rays. So this is a paper giving the theory of that. Okay, then there is a paper on the scattering of positrons by electrons. This is known as Bhabha scattering. Okay, this is one of the great works of Bhabha, which even today has applications. All these high energy colliders which discovered this God particle for you, LEP at CERN, when they have to calibrate, they have to use Bhabha scattering. So it is relevant even today that Bhabha, the concept and the theory and the formula for Bhabha scattering cross section, it was worked out by Bhabha in 1935. And this is part of his PhD thesis. That is why the man is considered so great. So then there is a Bhabha-Heitler theory on cosmic ray showers. Then from theory, he predicted the notion of heavy electrons. Electron has a mass of only half a MeV, but muons have a mass 200 times the mass of electron. Okay, pions decay into muons. So something which has the attributes of an electron but has a mass 200 times that of electron. This is a theoretical prediction by Bhabha. Okay, he at that time called heavy electrons, mass intermediate between that of a mass of a electron and proton. So these are the kind of theory he used to do. Okay. Then he also proposed a test for the special theory of relativity from the decay of pions into muons. So test of special theory of relativity. Special theory of relativity is given by Einstein. Okay, okay, in beginning of the 20th century. But neat test of the special theory of relativity, Bhabha proposes, then it is verified in his paper number 14, written in 1938. Okay, these are schematics due to Bhabha, soft component of cosmic rays, hard component of cosmic rays, penetrating component of cosmic rays. This is the original drawing, the schematics of Bhabha, drawn from Bhabha's papers. Okay, and this I told you about Bhabha scattering cross section. Okay, this is used even today. The right-hand side diagram is energy in GeV, and that is the CERN data. And this I extracted it from Venkatraman's book, which is this book, okay, Bhabha and his magnificent obsessions. Okay, so this is the papers that he wrote in Bangalore, okay. And these are the papers that he wrote when he transits from Bangalore to Bombay. And there's a paper which got him the Adams Prize was written from Bangalore. And then the papers that he writes on behalf of TIFR, the first paper that he writes on behalf of TIFR, it says Tata Institute of Fundamental Research in Physics. So initially he thought he will create an institute for fundamental research only devoted to physics. But this physics institute evolves into a whole of India's atomic energy program, space program, electronics research, defense research, molecular biology, radio astronomy, and everything. A small idea, just see how it mushrooms. And actually it gives us the agenda for the development of India for 100 years up to 2047. So his last paper was written, okay, in 1954, okay. That is published in the proceedings of an international conference of theoretical physics held in Tokyo. So fine. So I told you that in 43, he shares his thoughts for creating a Tata Institute of Fundamental Research. So J.R.D. Tata, Bharat Ratna J.R.D. Tata, was born 1904, 5 years elder than Bhabha. So he was a friend of Bhabha in some sense. So he shares with his friend, he was not the chairman of the Dauravji Tata Sons or the chairman of the Gaurav Tata Trust. Gaurav Tata Trust was chaired by Mr. Saklatwala. Okay, again, somebody from the Tata family, but not Mr. J.R.D. Tata. He consults Jamshed Tata that he wants to create this institute and he seeks an advice. So he tells him how he should go about it. So in August of 43, he writes his famous letter to J.R.D. Tata in which he says, lack of proper conditions for work and intelligent financial support hampers the development of science at a pace which the talent in the country would warrant. These are his thoughts, He's born 1909, letter is written in 43. He's 34 years old Bhabha writing this when he's trying to give shape to his vision. A month later, there is a conference which is organized by Meghnad Saha in Calcutta, where all the scientists of the country collect to conceive a plan for organization of research in post Second World War India. So there was a conference where the Indian scientists wrote the plan for developing India. So in that plan, Bhabha also contributes and a chapter, and Bhabha's chapter, okay, is titled Allocation of Scientific Research to the Universities. So he's still a universities man, Bhabha at that time. So he says how the money should be allocated to the universities from a national kitty. And it is in this 1943 meeting, the scientists give the concept of a National Research Council. The Anusandhan National Research Foundation has come into being last year, 2023. But India should have a body like this that predates 1943. Okay, so the agenda planned by the Indian scientists under the leadership of Saha and Bhatnagar. Bhabha was 15 years younger than them, but Bhatnagar and Saha don't live very long. And in the independent India, it is Bhabha only who implements this agenda, which is conceived as early as 1943. Okay, so the Indian scientists' plan were endorsed by a Nobel laureate A.V. Hill, who came from Cambridge, who was also a Nobel laureate who was also a member of the British Parliament. He had come to India, met all the Indian scientists, and he endorsed the plans of Indian scientists. And that is called scientific research in India. It's called A.V. Hill plan. Actually, the plan of the Indian scientists with the title of A.V. Hill plan. He gave specific recommendations, and that is what we have been implementing over last 80 years. Okay. So A.V. Hill, Bhabha had known A.V. Hill. He thought his advice, how he should go about building Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, etc., etc. So somewhere down the line, Council of Scientific and Industrial Research had also come into being in 1942. And CSIR, though it was created by the colonial government, but the Tatas had a great interest in having CSIR. Because Tatas wanted a research lab for chemicals. Tatas also wanted a research lab for Tata Steels. Tata also wanted a research lab for fuel, coal. So the first 5 national research lab, 3 of them Tatas had an interest. National Chemical Lab in Pune, National Metallurgical Lab in Jamshedpur, and National Fuel Research Institute in Dhanbad. Okay, so you can see how this industrialists and scientists are synergizing. We talk of industry academia interaction, which we are struggling to put it together. But India starts the research agenda with industrialists and researchers actually thinking that they will aid each other and propel India towards development. So this idea is planted into Bhabha's head that for TIFR he should seek money from CSIR. So to pursue that agenda, Bhabha goes to Delhi when CSIR was in Delhi University campus in 1944 and meets the head of CSIR, Mudliar, at that time, and convinces Bhatnagar that he will be a partner to the initiation of Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, which happens 1 year later in 1945. So, okay, CSR is on board. So in the Tatas contribute some money, large fraction in the first year. The government of Bombay gives some amount of money, and a small amount is to come from TIFR, and that is how the TIFR gets going. Now, once the TIFR gets going, Chandrasekhar, who had by that time moved, not yet got the Nobel Prize, but he had moved from England to America, everybody wanted Chandrasekhar back. Saha wanted Chandrasekhar back in Calcutta as a part of his Nuclear Physics Institute. But A.V. Hill wanted Chandrasekhar to go to Bombay and work with Bhabha. And Bhabha didn't have money to pay the salary of Chandrasekhar. So Bhabha approached C.V. Bhatnagar to give him money so that he can induct Chandrasekhar. So that is how the first time NPL has not yet come into being, but Bhatnagar agrees to give 75,000 rupees to Bhabha so that Chandrasekhar can be brought in from America to Bombay, which eventually doesn't happen, but this is how the thoughts of the visionaries were evolving. So anyway, institute gets going with a professor of mathematics and a professor of cosmic rays in the form of D.D. Kosambi and H.J. Taylor from Wilson College joining him. And Bhabha tried to get Chandrasekhar but doesn't succeed. Okay. Chandrasekhar eventually doesn't come, but Bhabha but the war ends with a dropping of 2 nuclear bombs in Japan. And as soon as those bombs got dropped, everybody realized the importance of nuclear physics research, fission research, etc., etc. So Bhatnagar created a committee for atomic research within the CSIR system, even before the India had become independent in the year 1946. And that committee was chaired by Bhabha, not by Bhatnagar or Saha. So Bhabha is the chair of that committee. That committee typically keeps meetings in Bombay. India becomes independent in 47. 11 days after India becomes independent, a board of research for atomic energy is created by Government of India within CSI, and Bhabha is the chair of that committee. 8 months, 6 months down the line, Atomic Energy Commission is created in April of 1948, and Bhabha is the chairman of the Atomic Energy Commission. It is financially still not independent. It is to get money only from CSI. So there are 3 members of the commission, Bhabha, Bhatnagar, and K.S. Krishnan. All 3 of them were fellows of the Royal Society. It was a very closed group, very secretive group, which only shared whatever they wanted to do for the strategic interests of India only with the Prime Minister of India. So once this gets going, now the atomic energy has to be built up. So Bhabha inducts Raja Ramanna as a nuclear physicist. Bhabha also creates a school of mathematics in TIFR because Paul Dirac recommended him to do so. Bhabha also inducts Pyara Singh Gill, who was a professor at FC College Lahore as a first professor of experimental physics at Tata Institute of Fundamental Research. Bhabha was a theorist. He was not an experimental physicist. The only other experimental physicist in the field of cosmic rays in India at that time was Pyara Singh Gill, who had done his PhD with A.H. Compton, the same A.H. Compton who had visited India in 1927. So you can see, how dots connect, how personal relationships matter when the institutes are small and you have to start building up things. So this is Homi Bhabha on the day of inauguration of Tata Institute of Fundamental Research on 19th of December in 1945. This is Bhabha speaking, and Saklatwala with specs is sitting, and then there is the governor of Bombay also at the time of inauguration of TIFR. This is Bhabha flying balloons, carrying out the leftover work of Millikan at the Central College, Bangalore, sometime in 1944. So along with him is Dr. A.S. Rao, electronics expert whom Bhabha had imported from Stanford University. And this A.S. Rao is the one who goes on to be the first managing director of Electronics Corporation of India Limited, the same company which makes all these voting machines today. Okay, this is Bhabha with Blackett and with H.J. Taylor, and that is Bhabha in between is PMS Blackett and Bhatnagar. PMS Blackett was also a Nobel laureate in cosmic rays, and he was the advisor of Nehru for more than 10 years after independence. This is Niels Bohr visiting Bombay, Niels Bohr being introduced to J.R.D. Tata, and Bhabha is in the middle, and his younger brother, Jamshed Bhabha, is also here. So, to build TIFR, the person who helped build TIFR, of course, Nehru was a big supporter of Bhabha, but the man actually who helped Bhabha to create TIFR is none other than Shanti Swarup Bhatnagar, the professor from Punjab University, Lahore, the creator of CSIR, the first Secretary Higher Education, Government of India, first chairman, UGC. It is Bhatnagar who had the experience of getting constructed 5 national labs. So whatever Bhatnagar used to construct those labs, all those thekedars and architects and so on, he put all of them at the disposal of Bhabha. And that is how Tata Institute of Fundamental Research came up. Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, Bombay, if you ever go, is located in a cantonment area, and the Ministry of Defense never gives any land to anyone for civilian purposes. The only civilian institute in Bombay cantonment is Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, for which the land came via Sardar Baldev Singh, who was the first defense minister of India and who was a friend of Bhatnagar from Lahore days. So you see the contribution of Punjabis to the building of Tata Institute of Fundamental Research and the Atomic Energy Program. So this is how the building was conceived. You can see very surprised Bhatnagar standing next to Nehru, admiring the building which is to be constructed. This is the building as it gets constructed 8 years later. Okay. And then the atomic energy. Department of Atomic Energy as a separate entity happens only in the year 1954. Until then, all the money for atomic energy had to come through CSIR. Atomic Energy Department gets constructed only in 1954 after Bhatnagar leaves CS, becomes the chairman of UGC. He is still chairman of the CSR, but he is also now the chairman of UGC. And it is at that stage the TF atomic energy is separated out of CS. So 54 it happens. The first reactor named Apsarabai Bhabha goes critical in 56, and the atomic energy establishment Trombay comes up in the year 1957 onwards, 56 onwards. First it was in Hutments, but then this is. Then Bhabha's role in United Nations. Okay, United Nations decides to hold a conference on peaceful uses of atomic energy. And who is picked up to chair this conference? None other than Homi Bhabha. So he is the chairman of the first conference on these peaceful uses of atomic energy. That happens in Geneva. And India has these research reactors. India also has this natural uranium type power reactors. All these deals were negotiated as early as 1955 when the first conference on peaceful uses of nuclear energy happens. So I've written down all these details on this thing. You can read about it later. But by 1955, the agenda for next 20 years was already set. What is to the next 20 years? So India needs research reactors, India would need power reactors, India would need fuel. But India doesn't have natural uranium. We don't have enriched uranium. We don't have uranium-235. So we can I have little bit of uranium we found later, but that is a natural uranium that is not fissionable. So that has to be converted into uranium-239. So for that, you have to bombard 239 with neutrons. So you need a research reactors. So lots of things happen. So you have to work on many fronts. You have to mine uranium, you have to produce fuel grade uranium, etc., etc. So all these things are set, and Bhabha needs people for all these things. So the man who actually produces the fissionable material for us is none other than Dr. Brahm Prakash, who did his PhD later on to a metallurgist, works for Bhabha and gets us the fuel rods. So anyway, training school was set up to induct engineers and scientists for India. Training school started in 57, continues every year. Advertisement for next year's training school came few weeks ago. And training school is the only organization amongst the government organization which does not have reservation. Like there is no reservation for officers in the army. Similarly, there is no reservation to be a research engineer or a research scientist in India's space program as well as in the atomic energy program. By a special act of parliament, this was granted to Bhabha for the India's atomic energy program. And since the space program came out of the atomic energy program, space program also does not have any reservation when it comes to scientists and engineers. So, we don't have natural uranium to convert uranium-238 to 239. I mean, when you get from uranium-238 actually gets converted into plutonium-239, and the plutonium-239 then has to be. We only have thorium, so thorium-232 has to be converted to thorium-233 for being fissionable. So Bhabha had this great plan of 3-stage nuclear plan. So stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. So between. So for that, Baba had picked an engineer Setna to do it. So we mercifully we had plutonium plant before Baba passed away in 1966. It is the plutonium which is used years later for first nuclear experiment in 1994 and nuclear experiment in 1990. Of having this three-stage power program. The power is still not reached that, still reached the experiment part of the third stage last year. Still have not reached that we are able to convert it thorium 232 to 33. But that will eventually happen. But other things have followed. So this is Chinese delegation visiting Apsara reactor, and Baba took them around to see this Apsara reactor. Baba didn't know this is, at that time what the Chinese are going to do 6 years down the line, because they did explode a nuclear bomb in 1964, 3 months after Nehru passed away. So this is when fuel and Ram Prakash, the man who produced the fuel rod for India. And then you see there is a photograph. So then on the left you see a photograph which has Satish Dhawan, Brahm Prakash and Kalam. So this Brahm Prakash, after helping the India's nuclear energy program, is in 21. He shifted to the. So before Satish Dhawan joins the space program, Brahm Prakash is already there trying to consolidate the space program. The way he had helped Bhabha to consolidate all metallurgy programs. So Satish Dhawan joins later as the chairman of the Space Commission. And Satish Dhawan and Brahm Prakash were both from Lahore. Of course, Brahm Prakash was 7 years younger to Satish Dhawan, but they had this connection and they knew how to work together as a mission. So mission mode working of space program is all again due to friendship between the Satish Dhawan and Brahm Prakash. And Kalam considers both of them as his mentors. So you see this photograph there. So now we move on to space and the electronics. Okay, electronics, I already told you, A.S. Rao was the guy, electronics guy, and then space research. So in August of 61, okay, Bhabha proposes to Government of India that space research and peaceful uses of outer space should be created as a separate program in atomic energy. So to do so, he inducts Sarabhai into Atomic Energy Commission, and Sarabhai had this Institute Physical Research Laboratory in Ahmedabad. He, just as TIFR was an aided institute of atomic energy, he adopts PRL also as an aided institute of atomic energy. Okay, and that is the beginning of space research. And then an Indian Council for Space Research is created within TIFR with Sarabhai as a chair in 1962, just as Bhatnagar had created Committee for Atomic Research within CSR to get the atomic energy going. So now Bhabha does the same. He inducts Sarabhai, creates this thing in the Atomic Energy Commission to kickstart this space energy program. So this is what electronics, Bhabha says, it is essential that this industry should be planned and organized from the very beginning in such so as to build into the capacity to keep abreast of progress in the rest of the world without continuing dependence on foreign assistance. So we started very well, but somewhere after Bhabha's death, we lost this agenda somehow. We did create a semiconductor plant in Mohali, but one small accident and we abandoned it. and we are paying dearly for it now. So this is space program. He says reason for going into space research is that there are great many areas in which it is likely to yield results of great practical importance in the near future, and we would again be falling behind the advanced countries in practical technology. He states this in 1963. Okay, but that practical technology actually happens 30, 40 years later. Things like GPS, internet, that is all 21st century things. GPS comes only end of the 20th century or beginning of the 21st century. But this guy is anticipating that all these things will happen 30, 40 years from now. So we must enter the space program when it is nascent. So Tata Memorial Hospital, Tata Memorial Center today has 300 associates all across the country. And Tata Memorial Center network is the largest global cancer network in the country. But who started it all off? Again, Homi Bhabha. Because Bhabha's aunt, Bhabha's mother's sister was married to Dauravji Tata. She dies of cancer in 1931. And the Dauravji Tata Trust creates a Tata Memorial Hospital in Bombay. Okay. And that hospital comes up in 41. Once the atomic energy program gets going, Bhabha sets up a biology unit in 1948. And he also creates an Indian Cancer Research Center in close proximity to Tata Memorial Hospital. So both these entities are under the atomic energy program. In as early as 1948, government takes over the Tata Memorial Hospital for 7-8 years. They cannot run it. Then Bhabha comes back with a plan. He figures out that in America, the cancer research hospitals are all run by the US Department of Energy. And there, the guy who provides all these trainings is the brother of E.O. Lawrence. Lawrence was the guy who created the cyclotron and got the Nobel Prize. So Lawrence's brother in another department of US government was taking care of the cancer research for the US. So he creates a teams, sends them to Lawrence's brother, gets them trained, and proposes to Nehru that all this should be brought under the atomic energy program, because anyway you will need radioisotopes for cancer research, and who will give you radioisotopes? They have to come from the reactors. So this Tata Memorial Center, Tata Memorial Hospital is brought under the atomic energy. This is how, this cancer research, Tata Memorial Hospital, everything comes under the atomic energy. So electronics, space, health. Okay. So then radio astronomy and biology. India has a world-class radio telescope today, giant meter wave radio telescope, with Modi ji dedicated to the nation last year, where people come from all over the world to use this world-class facility in India. But who gets it going? It gets it going is Bhabha, because Bhabha inducts Govind Sarup in TIFR in 1962. When nobody had heard of molecular biology, Bhabha inducts Obed Siddiqui in the School of Physics of TIFR. Everybody opposes. Why are you getting a biology amongst the community of cosmic ray physicists and theoretical physicists? But no, Bhabha has identified somebody who can get the biology going. And after all, A.V. Hill was a mathematician turned physiologist who had got a Nobel Prize in physiology. And A.V. Hill had said TIFR must have a biology. And Bhabha didn't have a suitable person whom he could induct to start biology. But once he gets a suitable person, Obed Siddiqui, he comes in. So molecular biology unit is started on one of the floors of one of the blocks of TIFR. Actually, that floor didn't exist. The physicists are not willing to give space to this biologist. So Bhabha gets one more floor built on the second floor and gives the whole of the third floor to Siddiqui to build the molecular biology unit. Today, we have a National Center for Biological Sciences in Bangalore. It is not only a National Center for Biological Sciences, they also have a stem cell They also have India's largest biotechnology incubation center in Bangalore. Bangalore has a life sciences cluster because NCBS went. Siddiqui took NCBS from Bombay to Bangalore in 1987. So, science policy resolution. The first science policy resolution was written by Bhabha. And what did it say? It says, encourage and initiate with all possible speed programs for the training of scientific and technical person on a scale adequate to fulfill country's needs in science and education, agriculture, and industry and defense. This is what is to be done for the Atmanirbharta, right? But this is stated as early as 1958. You have to just accelerate all these things. Says to ensure that the creative talent of men and women is encouraged and finds full scope in scientific activity. To secure for the people of the country all the benefits that can accrue from the acquisition and application of scientific knowledge. Okay. I got this from Economic and Political Weekly of 1992. It was quoted in one of the non-scientific books. This, so I extracted it out from this. So he was honored by all kinds of things. Royal Society, Padma Award, President of IUPAC. He was nominated for Nobel Prize, didn't get. But he himself, he nominated 3 persons for Nobel Prize. He nominated Cockcroft in 1955 when he was himself nominated by a Frenchman. Cockcroft got it in 51. Felix Bloch he nominated, he got in 52. Lamb got Nobel Prize in 55, nominated by Bhabha. So Bhabha's concern for the student, this is very important. Okay. So when Krishnan sends Harishchandra to Bangalore to work for him, but IISc has no place to live for students, for PhD students. So Bhabha has a friend, librarian of IISc, who had a European wife. He had a huge house on the campus. So he tells him to accommodate Harishchandra in one of the guest rooms. This is how Harishchandra starts living with on IISc campus. Eventually, 10 years down the line, Harishchandra marries his daughter, Lalita. So then he had someone whom he brought as a technician from Bangalore. This guy, when he came, he gets married. He doesn't have a place to live in Bombay. So the Kenilworth bungalow, which belonged to his aunt, whose 1/3 was used for the institute, it had some garages. So he gives one of the outhouses to this Vasudevachar to live when he gets married. This is Bhabha for you. He himself was not married, but he was concerned. HLN Murthy was his glassblower. All the proportional counters which were installed in the deep underground mines for muons were built by HLN Murthy. He was his man who worked for ideas of Bhabha, experimental this thing. So he developed a heart trouble. He sent him to Boston and got him operated free of charge, and also lined up 18 blood donors for him from within America. This is Bhabha for him. Devendra Lal had some cyst. It had to be operated. Without Lal knowing, he arranges for a surgeon to operate for him in Tata Memorial Hospital. So what made Bhabha tick? So Bhabha used all his position, all his contacts as tools for the growth of the people working with him. Whatever resource he has, if he can help you, he'll make it available for you without your asking for you, provided he is convinced that what you are doing is sensible. These are few cartoons. This is first Geneva conference. This is Nehru, and this is Bhabha's peace, atom for peace. And this is Shastri when nuclear bomb was tested by China on October 16, 1964. This is Shastriji, Lakshman's cartoons. This is Bhabha's contact with Nehru. As I told you, Nehru and Mrs. Gandhi had known him from 1936 onwards. It is Nehru who had asked Bhabha to keep a tab on what Chinese are doing. Okay. And Chinese do test the bomb. Okay. 6 months after the demise of Nehru. And Mrs. Gandhi had convinced Baba that he will be his cabinet colleague. But he had to go for this visit to Geneva, to Vienna. So he flew to Vienna on the day Mrs. Gandhi was to be sworn in as a prime minister. And he doesn't return. So that is how he does not become the Lord of Science and Technology that Mrs. Gandhi wanted him to become. Today we have a principal scientific advisor to Government of India. It started with Kalam and then Chidambaram and so on. But original person was supposed to be Bhabha to coordinate all these things. And if he had done it in 66, maybe we wouldn't have been that far behind China today as we are today. Thank you. So these books are here. You can browse through it. Those of you who have an interest. I have several of these in the soft copy. You can send a mail to Dilip and I will have them sent to him.
So thank you, Professor Grover, for an exciting and insightful lecture. I would now request Dr. Dalip Kumar, Registrar, to kindly present Professor Grover with a memento as a token of our appreciation.
After a book called Homi Bhabha as an artist. It got printed after master in my mark.
So it's my honor and privilege to propose a vote of thanks on the behalf of the organizing committee, on my personal behalf, and on the behalf of everyone present here. I express my sincerest gratitude to Professor Arun Grover for the insightful talk on Dr. Homi Bhabha's seminal contribution and their continued relevance in driving India's journey towards Vikas and Atmanirbharta as we approach India at 2047. Professor Grover, your address highlighted Dr. Bhabha's transformative role in shaping India's scientific landscape. Despite the untimely passing of Dr. Bhabha, his vision remains a cornerstone of India's progress. Thank you, Professor Grover, once again for inspiring us with this compelling tribute to a pioneer whose legacy continues to propel India forward. My sincere thanks to our esteemed Vice Chancellor, Professor R.K. Kohli, whose vision and unwavering support have made this popular science lecture possible. His dedication to promoting scientific learning and dialogue has enriched us all. I would like to extend my thanks to Dr. Dalip Kumar, Registrar, Amity University, Punjab, for his support. My deepest regards to Mr. Dharamveer, President SPISTI, and Professor K.R. Dharamveer, General Secretary SPISTI, and members of Chandigarh chapter of NASI, Professor K.N. Pathak, Professor K.K. Bhashin, Dr. Dinesh, Professor Daisy, and Dr. Krishnendu for their support in organizing this lecture series. Organizing an event like this requires close cooperation from faculty colleagues and administrative staff and students. I would like to thank my faculty colleagues, Dr. Preeti Pathania and Dr. Surbhi Soni for their help in organizing today's event. I thank Colonel Gotra, Director of Administration and Operation, and their team and his team for providing logistic support. Mr. Rahul Chavala, Mr. Charanjit, and the entire IT team for their support. Ms. Vaishali Panda and events and marketing team for their help in promoting this event. Thanks are due to all the student volunteers for their help in managing the seating in the auditorium. Thank you all for being a part of today's evening. I would also like to take this opportunity to announce that next Thursday on 20th of November, two of our esteemed faculty colleagues will be delivering a popular lecture on Nobel Prize in Medicine or Physiology 2024 and Nobel Prize in Literature 2024. The details of the lecture will be circulated soon. Thank you all once again for being here and have a great evening ahead. I would now request everyone to kindly stand for the national anthem.
जन गण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल गंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगल दायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे